It's Friday. Pregnant and she is white and she doesn't know about this stuff. The Mexican superstition.
I had tickets to
I know it about
Nobody does.
Yeah, right.
All right, so let's go over our humerus. It's so funny.
Yes.
Is it funny?
It is funny. It's the best X-ray joke out there. So like I said, we have neutral rotation, internal rotation, external rotation. All right?
Pay attention.
So we have to know the rotation of the humerus in order to understand the anatomy and positioning of the shoulder and or humerus. So like I said, here is the greater tubercle. That is what you can feel when you turn your arm inside and out. Okay? This is an AP humerus. Now I know this shows you a lateral humerus doing this whole chicken wing dance, right? Do you have to do that so far away from the patient?
Mine.
No,
I just did the same thing. See what I'm getting
I
at?
can't do that. My shoulder pops out of place.
Oh,
See?
please don't.
Oh,
Sweet Jesus, don't do that.
You are
Lord.
breaking apart.
She's like, I can't do that.
I can't do that.
I recommend
do
to
that.
people, with parts falling off, please don't do that. So our technical factors, we're going to be at 40 inches again. And our IR plate is going to be large enough to include the entire humerus because we have to include the elbow and the shoulder. Let's do it right here, right? Look at our KVP range.
Let's see.
Oh my gosh! You noticed a theme here.
Mm-hmm.
So this grid, non-grid for humerus is less than 10 centimeters. What's less than 10 centimeters? Our hand. And so we're talking about little people and children's. They do not need the grid. All right. I say that to remind you that there is this magical thing called a grid that is now built into most algorithms that you don't even need to have a thought about it. It will just automatically do it. However, on the AART registry, it's going to ask about a grid. Do you use a grid for this? Do you use a grid for that? And you go, is it fatter than my hand? Yes. Life is great. Okay. So here's the fun part about humeruses. It says to extend the hand and forearm as far as the patient can tolerate. Now, if we're doing a humerus, and I don't know why you would want to do this, but let's just say they are comatose, and you're doing it on the bed, okay? And you've positioned it up underneath them. Now, half of that plate is going to go up underneath their chest, isn't it? Because you have to include the shoulder joint. That's not going to be very comfortable. And it's going to pull them out like this. Because I guarantee you, people's arms are not the same width and length, and they'll flop you around. It could even be broken. Interesting things. As far as the patient can tolerate, if your patient is a walkie-talkie and is just, a screaming mess, I let them do it. I'm like, this is what I want you to do. Show it to them. Let them do that. There are some patients I will be like, so here's what I'm going to need to have happen, and can we assist you in any way with getting yourself up to this board and just placing yourself against it like this. Communication is key in order to make this happen. Because I guarantee you, if their humerus is broken, it is not a fun time for them. Okay? Plus you're making them get up and walk because it's not like the leg broke. Yeah, and you said you allow diagonal placement on long arms?
Absolutely.
Okay. So here's where it's going to be fun. A diagonal placement for a humerus is effective.
Would you like me to be your
Oh, no,
cassette
14.
holder?
Oh, hey, see? There you go. Oh, you want to play with it? Because,
I am the cassette holder.
oh Lord. Here's the thing. Your bucky is going to move down like this, and you have to include both the shoulder and the elbow, right? Yeah. So I just made it corner to corner diagonally instead of pretend like this. Then I run the risk of cutting it off, right? And there are some people who are really tall who cannot fit this way, but they'll fit this way. You see what I'm getting at?
Mm-hmm.
So it's okay to do that. Now, I've been taught in certain places I had to take 2 images because they wanted it square to square. And I'm like, but whatever. I get paid not to think, right? Right. But here, oh Lord, sorry. Woo, you're fine. The director said, oh, somebody registered. You can do it diagonally. So yay, America. There's diagonal. Remember, if you're going to stick up the corner of that board up underneath someone, it's going to suck. Just make them aware of that. So remember when we talked about the epicondyles of the elbow, which are actually the epicondyles of your humerus, which are almost the joint, right? This hanging offy right here, and this hanging offy right here. This is your lateral epicondyle, and this is your medial epicondyle. If you touch those 2 things, you can see your plane, right? Put your hand on your elbow and you can see your plane. Your plane has to be flat up against that IR to make it flat. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
You could abduct the arm slightly and gently supinate the hand. Because I guarantee you, if their shoulder is broken, remember we just did all these movements feeling our tubercles? If you move their hand, what's going to happen? It's going to hurt. That's what we have to be aware of, is we're moving their hands and it's going to hurt them. So evaluation criteria, we're going to show the entire humerus, including the shoulder and elbow joints. I did this laying down and standing up so that we can see all of the humerus. I don't need all of her neck. I just need enough. And I don't need people doing that whole out to the side, because when you're having to open up the collimator to include all of the arm, all you had to do was bring it back down. Feel me? Does that make sense? We don't need to open it all the way up. We can have the arm hanging down just a little bit and not make this whole chicken wing looking thing. That's not as bad as I found that guy. Isn't he cute? And here it is when they're laying down. All you have to do is flip their hand over, and I can do a lateral humerus right there on the bed. Okay? And that's all for a humerus. Humeruses are easy until we get to the traumas. Woo! Trauma is going to be its own section.
Is lateral 90 degrees?
The lateral is the 90 degrees of the bone itself. You're right. I didn't say anything like that. So a humerus AP is this, but you just turned the bone 90 degrees. Does that make sense? We flipped it all the way around. Our epicondyles are like this, and they're perpendicular. So you just turned the bone 90 degrees. The patient can stay the same. Does that make sense? This way, and then I flip it this way. I didn't even put the trauma views on
Let's
here.
see.
Huh? What? Ooh, what? That is not bad. This was 6. Whee! So, clinical. Oh no, that's right. I need to get to the trauma views and I haven't done that yet. But, so, let me do this.